it's John McCabe. Welcome to the show. Hey, welcome to the Johnny McCabe Show, where it's all about accelerating your authority in your business or field of expertise. And we do that by helping entrepreneurs, business owners, authors, experts, and speakers get seen, get heard, get noticed on any device, anywhere, anytime, in as little as 15 hours. Also known as the Authority Acceleration Blueprint. Today on the Anything Goes Friday show, I'm going to drink some beer and I'm going to talk about women with someone I've become acquainted with in the Publish and Profit community, where we're both members. Now, there's probably a good chance that we met up at some of the marketing events along the way, but with 400 to 500 people at these events, it's hard to meet everybody. Now, this P90X Cast Member was a lawyer for most of his adult life and felt stuck in his career, despite all the trappings after a while. He wanted to mix it up more in the marketplace of ideas by adding a few of his own, and felt that he had other talents and an obligation not to waste them. Now, he's also been surrounded by controversy with some of his publications. Now, there have been numerous feminists and other individuals who have taken exception to some of his humorous writings and the way in which he classifies individuals based on their cultural backgrounds and their mannerisms. Joe Bovino is the founder and CEO of Bestseller and You Publishing and an attorney with over 25 years of experience, and the author of 4 Amazon #1 best-selling books on dating and relationships. Now, he spent most of his life in New Jersey, Los Angeles, and Miami, but currently resides in Medellin, Colombia. Now, Joe resigned from his law job and decided to write a book. Now, he has 4 #1 bestsellers, and he'd like to help others who have a great book, a bestseller, in them. It's not just about achieving bestseller status. In some ways, that's easy now. It's about being the best that you can be and sharing it with others. And arguably, the best way to share one's wisdom, wit, and great ideas with the world is through a book. However, Joe has discovered that many people are confused and frustrated by the publishing process. They doubt their own ability to write well and publish a great book. And they think that writing and publishing process is rigged for celebrities and the well-connected. Now Joe helps people with a 3-step process that gets their book idea out of their head and into the world in a non-traditional way that works. First, he positions, structures, and outlines the book. Second, they speak the book into existence. And third, he launches it to bestseller status with a goal of making it #1 bestseller. Now, he's particularly interested in helping other busy professionals like he was who feel trapped in their current lifestyle. So don't go away, because when I return, I'm going to be joined by my guest today, Joe Bovino. Hey, thanks for joining me on today's show, Anything Goes Friday, where no topic is off limits. Well, okay. Well, the ones that I have no interest in discussing, they're off limits, like politics, Jason P. Jordan. I'm not going to talk about politics on the show. And religion, I try to stay away from. After all, it is my show, so I get to make up the rules. I'm excited for today's show because we're going to talk about one of my favorite subjects, women. I just love women. Well, we'll talk a little bit about women, amongst other things, like being in millions of homes around the world, helping people work out, being a lawyer, an author, a publisher, and even what it's like to move to another country and live there. Now, you may recognize my guest as someone training along with you when you popped in that P90X DVD and worked out at home. Joe Bovino is the founder and CEO of Bestseller and You Publishing, an attorney with over 25 years of experience, and author of 4 Amazon #1 best-selling books on dating relationships, including his latest book, Bitchology, as well as the Field Guide to Chicks of the United States, which won the gold medal for humor in the 2013 Global eBook Awards. Now, he spent most of his life in New Jersey, Los Angeles, and Miami, but currently resides in Medellin, Colombia. Now, Joe resigned from his law job when he decided to write his first book. Now he helps others who have a great book, a bestseller in them, by implementing a 3-step process and gets their book idea out of their head and into the world in a non-traditional way that really works. So please give it up with likes, loves, shares, and a virtual flurry of thumbs up and hearts icons across the screen for my good guest today, Joe Bovino. Hey, Joe.
Hey, John. How you doing?
I'm doing well. Yourself?
Doing great.
Excellent.
Good. Thanks for having me.
Hey, no, it's my pleasure. My pleasure. I know it took just over a month, almost 2 months to get you on the show, but I'm very happy to have you on and talk about one of my favorite subjects, women. Of course, we'll talk about some business stuff in there too, but I just love talking about women. And you're one of the foremost authorities when it comes to dating and relationships.
I do my best.
Now, unfortunately, Joe, you did mention before we get on the show that you haven't seen the show, but what I like to do before we get too far into it is an interview with speed questions, just so the the audience gets to know you a little bit more.
Okay.
So it's nothing that you have to study for. You don't need to, you're not going to be tested on it. And what I'd like everyone at home to do is just play along with us. So every time I ask Joe a question, if you just want to type in your answer in the chat, and you can just compare your answers along with Joe. So you all set, Joe?
Yeah, the answer to question number 1 is missionary.
Oh my God, you're so boring. All right. Name the book that impacted your life the most.
I would say a book called When Cultures Collide.
Okay. And when you were a young boy, who was your celebrity crush?
Michelle Pfeiffer.
Did you ever
And Farrah Fawcett.
Did you ever get to meet them?
No.
Okay. What is either a book, podcast, or show that you're into right now?
I'm watching Ray Donovan on Netflix, and I absolutely love it.
Oh, that's an awesome show. I enjoy that too. Do you currently work with any coaches?
I do have one, yes, a business coach.
And what's his name?
It's a woman.
What's her name?
Her name is Camila, and her last name, I think it's pronounced Behrens.
Okay. What's your favorite movie of all time?
I have a tie. I think in a romantic comedy field, it would be Love Actually.
Yeah.
Love that movie. In action, it would be Die Hard.
Excellent.
And then in, I guess, drama would be Forrest Gump.
Very nice. Are you currently involved in any masterminds?
No.
Name a person, either dead or alive, who you'd most like to meet and have dinner with.
I'd like to have dinner with my grandmother again. She passed away some time ago. And I would say, I know we don't want to get political, but Ronald Reagan.
Very nice. What's your favorite type of vacation? Is it a beach vacation or adventure tour?
You can see by my great tan, lack thereof. I don't spend a lot of time with the sun. It's not that I don't like the sun. It's just that I can't handle it. So I don't spend a lot of time on the beach. I go on adventures, and I'm going one right now. So, yeah.
Excellent. What's the best business advice you ever received?
I think just never give up.
Never give up. Excellent.
Can't give up.
The last question is a two-parter. What is your favorite? Water, beer, or wine? And pizza, wings, or salad?
I think I prefer wine to beer, which makes me feel bloated. And water's okay if you're really thirsty. But yeah. So wine. And the other one was salad, pizza, or what?
Or wings. Chicken wings.
Wings, but not fried.
Okay. Done in the oven.
Possible.
Done in the oven. Excellent.
Yeah, right.
Everyone give Joe a round of applause by hitting that like button, the love button, and make sure you share this feed with everyone on your Facebook page, as well as any groups or any business pages that you may have. Just going to do a quick peek in the chat, Joe, just to see who's following us today. And we have Jason P. Jordan's in the house, Andy Lockwood.
Oh, God.
And Lockwood says he cannot wait for this show. Maybe it's because I was giving him hell on his show a little bit earlier, so I'm just imagine what I'm in for. Roz Slaughter's in the house. Coach Roz Slaughter, the motivator, who was on my show earlier. Jason P. Jordan wants to hear what you think about this week's debate. And the only debate we're going to talk about today, Jason, is the debate on which type of woman that we want to date or what kind of beer we're going to drink. That's the only debate on today's show. No politics. And Jason says, well, Hillary's a woman. Well, if you want to classify her as a woman, you go ahead. But I'll pass on that. Kathy Potter's in the house. Tahani is in the house. Tahani was a previous guest. Thanks for joining me. She's beautiful as always. Lockwood has lots of comments for me. And they just left some messages as to what they're playing along in the show. And Russell Tober and Irwin joined us as well. So thanks, everybody, for joining us. Like I said, please like, love, share this with all of your friends on Facebook. And if you're just joining us, you may recognize my guest as someone training alongside you when you popped in that P90X DVD and worked out at home. Joe Bovino is the founder and CEO of Bestseller and You Publishing, an attorney with over 25 years of experience and an author of 4 Amazon #1 best-selling books on dating and relationships, including his latest book, Bitchology, as well as the Field Guide to Chicks of the United States, which won the gold medal for humor in the 2013 Global eBook Awards. Now, he spent most of his life in New New Jersey, Los Angeles, and Miami, but currently resides in Medellin, Colombia.
Medellin.
Medellin?
Mm-hmm.
That's how you pronounce it, Medellin?
Yep,
okay.
Medellin, yep.
And you know what? There was, I recognized the name from an Entourage episode. What's his name, was doing a movie called Medellin, wasn't it?
Exactly.
Okay.
Exactly. They were doing the story of Pablo Escobar, his life.
Right.
Yeah.
So Joe resigned from his law job when he decided to write his first book. Now he helps others who have a great book bestseller in them by implementing a 3-step process that gets their book out of their head and into a world in a non-traditional way that really works. So if you have any questions for today's show, any questions for my guest, Joe, just leave them in Facebook chat. And we'll try to get to them throughout the show. And if we don't get a chance to answer them during the show, we'll definitely answer them after the show has already been aired and in the replay. So if you're just watching this in the replay as well, just leave your questions. Just tag either Joe or myself, and we'll definitely get back to you.
John, 1 second. Hold on 1 second.
No worries. So my guest is just taking a quick break. So I'm just going to read some of the chats here. Tahani says she's here. Jordan says Vino. Jordan's curious about Bovino's posts.
Brief commercial interruption. Go ahead. I'm
That's
back.
all right.
You still there?
I'm just reading the.
I apologize.
Just reading what people are writing. Joe, where the hell to go? What's your base advice for? Could you give some? Use tender. Let me read. Anyway, I'll read that after Jason. Joe's back now, so we're going to get back into the show. So, Joe, just for the viewers who don't really know who you are, can you give them maybe a 2 to 3 minute clip of your origin story? So, who are you, where you came from, how you got to this point, just in a couple minutes?
Sure. Jersey boy. Went to college, University of Virginia, law school, University of Southern California. Studied international relations there as well. And then since I put all that effort into law school, I figured I better practice law, which I did for a long time. Always been interested in sort of the battle of ideas, and I thought being a lawyer was my chance to make a difference, to have a voice. I always was interested in politics too, and I noticed a lot of politicians were lawyers. Yeah. So that was kind of what led me there. After practicing for a very long time at some big firms and small, I did some entertainment law in Los Angeles, and I started working with lots of really great creative people, and I loved it. But I always thought, what do I have? You know, maybe I have some ideas, and maybe I want to write something, produce something. And so that's when I decided to resign from my law job, and I started writing and trying to produce movies. And it just led me down this really crazy, interesting, fun road that I'm on, and here I am in Colombia now, so it continues.
Nice. So I'm sure a lot of people want to know, because actually I want to know too. So how did you get selected to be in the P90X videos? Was it like an audition, or did you know the guy producing it?
Sure. When I moved to Los Angeles for law school, I met a lot of guys in fitness. I was pretty fit, but I just happened to just meet a lot of guys going to the gym, and one of them was Tony Horton. And Tony Horton is the P90X guru. He really invented it for Beachbody. And Tony and I became friends. We had the same group of friends. I knew him for a really long time when he was this struggling personal trainer living in Santa Monica, California, out of a 1 or 2 bedroom apartment. He never really had much money, but he was always doing this. He was a struggling actor as well. Mm-hmm. He was always going into character. I think that's what he really wanted to do. And anyway, so we became friends. And then one day, I had moved to Miami, first trip to Miami from LA, like 2001. And I didn't have a gym, and I found out there was this thing called P90. And I thought, I knew Tony was involved in it. I said, wow, Tony's doing it. I trust him to give me something good. Yeah. Started jumping around in my apartment, my dog looking at me like, what the hell are you doing? And I still remember him looking at me, or her. And that's when I got introduced to P90. People started to recognize me and think I was Tony, even in Miami. Way back then, I wasn't in the video. I was just a guy walking down the street. Aren't you Tony Horton? No. And then I moved back to L.A., and I happened to run into one of the owners of Beachbody. He's also a friend. I knew him when he was poor as well. And he goes, yeah, we're doing P90X. We have a test group. Maybe you should think about it. And I joined the test group, and I had amazing results. It was 90 days. It was all real. Yeah. Busted my ass. Anyway, that's what happened. I ended up being, I let them film me during the making of it, during the test crew. I wasn't interested in being in the video, but when it was over, they said, we're going to shoot the video now. I said, I'll show up for one day to see if I try out for it.
Okay.
And I got chosen, and then showed up one day. There wasn't a lot of takes. They just like, let's go. I knew Tony didn't want me talking over him. No, he's a star. So I just tried to stay quiet and do it and not embarrass myself, and that's what happened.
So you'd gone through it for 90 days prior to actually doing the shoot. So that was like your training to get into shape, and plus knowing all the moves.
Oh yeah, I knew it backwards and forwards. I knew what he was going to say. Just because I've been doing it for so long. He's also a friend. There were other people there who'd been in the program. I wasn't worried about not knowing what to do. It was just, I was just remember thinking, don't talk too much. Let Tony be the star, and don't go for the really easy weights. I mean, let's go for it here. People are watching, so that was it.
I've been been an extra on a movie before, so I know the shooting process takes forever. So was it like that, or was it really quick and you're just almost like it was one or two takes?
One or two takes.
Yeah.
It was really fast. We showed up, little makeup. They stuck us out there, stand here. We're going to do the workout that you know. And we rolled through. I think there were like one or two stops where something happened, but it wasn't because they wanted to. It's just like a little bit of a confusion about this or that, but pretty much it went right through. It was really fast, and it was fun. I really had a good time. I loved the people I was in the cast and everybody in the test group. It was really a lot of great memories from those days. Yeah.
So how long after the DVDs were released before the first person recognized you for being you, not Tony?
Well, I would often claim to be Tony.
Okay.
No, that's not true. I told you, people recognize me, even P90. This is before I was in a video, so they were already saying, aren't you that guy? So then, but to answer your question, it was about a year and a half after we filmed it. I had already moved back I was in Los Angeles. I moved back to Miami, my second trip. I'd forgotten about it. And I really wasn't all that concerned. I knew they were going to make it, but I couldn't believe it was taking so long. Finally, it hits it, and I'm in all the infomercials. I talked a lot, and they showed my everything. And that's when I was like, that's when people started saying, aren't you that guy? And then when people bought the video, I'm in one of the DVDs. I'm in one of the 10. And Tony says my full name like 10 times, over and over. Joe Bovino. So people feel like they know me after a while. Yeah.
So did people come up to you saying how much of an impact you had in their lives, that you've helped transform their body, and they just enjoyed, was there anybody coming up talking about that?
Yes, I would say that mostly happened though via Facebook and things like that. People would write to me and thank me. It was actually very touching.
Excellent. If you guys are just joining me, you may recognize my guest as someone training along with you when you popped in that P90X DVD or worked out at home. Joe Bovino is founder of CEO of Bestseller and You Publishing, an attorney with over 25 years of experience and an author of 4 Amazon #1 best-selling books on dating and relationships, including his latest book, Bitchology, as well as the Field Guide to Chicks of the United States, which won a gold medal for humor in the 2013 Global eBook Awards. He's currently spent most of his life in New Jersey, Los Angeles, and Miami, but currently resides in Colombia. Now, Joe resigned from his law job when he decided to write his first book. Now he helps others who have a great book, a bestseller in them, by implementing a 3-step process that gets their book idea out of their head and into the world in a non-traditional way that really works. So if you have any questions or comments, just type them in the chat. And just before I move on, Joe, I'm just going to see what the crowd has to say. Jordan wants to know, what's the best advice you could give for someone using Tinder for the first time?
Oh, God.
Natasha Sexton joined us. Hey, Natasha, hope all's well. Andy
Jordan should use somebody else's picture.
Yeah, there you go.
Kidding,
Lockwood says he personally prefers my exercise videos, which are non-existent, so that's probably why he prefers them. Diane joined us. She's a mountain goat. Friend of yours, maybe?
Oh, God.
And
that's a type of cougar. I think it's over 50 or something. Maybe over 30, over 35. I forget.
And Jordan It's just reaffirming how great Lockwood is. So thanks everybody for joining us. If you have any questions or comments, just type them in the chat and we'll try to get through them throughout the show. Joe, you spent most of your adult life as a lawyer. Was it your dream to become a lawyer when you were a kid? And what kind of law did you actually practice?
I remember when I'm being in law school, just dreaming about being in politics, actually.
Okay.
That was my dream. And law was just a way to get there. And at some point during the process of, being in law school and starting a career, I met some people in politics and I was kind of turned off by it all. It was just a little nastier than I thought.
Yeah.
And I thought, I don't want to do that. I'll do something else. I'll make a difference in some other way. So that's what led me into law. And then I practiced. I know I wanted to. It was a tough decision: litigation versus transactional. You have to choose in the beginning as a lawyer. You're going to be a litigator. You're going to go to court, or are you going to be one of these lawyers that just does contracts?
Right.
And there's reasons to do both, but I thought I would be bored just doing contracts all day long. So I wanted to perform. I wanted to be out there. So
nice.
I chose litigation and I did it for a while, and then I went back to transactional later. Done all kinds of things.
So you at the beginning you spent a fair amount of time in court, or it never actually got to court?
I thought I was going to be in court a lot. If I wanted that, in hindsight, I should have been a criminal defense lawyer or worked for the DA or something, in something criminal law, because they're always in court. But I joined a big firm, which was great. I had the big office. I was so proud. I had my name on the door. I had a secretary. I was making a lot of money as a kid right out of school.
Yeah.
But the truth is, you rarely go. I had a trial, but it was a really small one. You go to court for motions every now and then, but it was always like few and far between. And I was a good writer. I realized even back then I could write well. So I was winning my cases on the papers. I was winning all of my cases on the papers.
Okay.
I don't want to sound like a braggart, but I was really winning a lot of cases that way, and which is great. The clients were happy, but I didn't get a chance to have any trials or anything like that. I'd win, but it's like, and also we were billing our clients so much, the bills were so high that after we won, it wasn't like I had this sense of, yes, I want to celebrate. It was more like, oh, good, I'm glad we won because we charged them up the wazoo.
Yeah, exactly. So
right?
Were you working like a typical 80-hour work week
Yeah, back then we were getting paid a lot, but we had a lot to learn. It was with billable hours. I remember that was what you're always writing down your hours every time.
Yeah.
And I didn't work for a New York law firm. They were notorious back then for working all the time. They would pay you almost double. You'd make a lot of money with them, but you had no life whatsoever. Where I was, I had some life, but it was a lot of work. I remember at one point I was living in Manhattan Beach, this beautiful place in Los Angeles, and I loved it. But even on the weekends, I had to choose a day where I was going to work pretty much most of the day.
Right.
And my lifestyle would be go to the office, do my thing, drive home. I had a long drive to the beach. I'd eat alone at some little diner place. I'd see another lawyer over there doing the same thing, and my friend over there. And then I go home, have a couple hours, and then it's time to go to bed. And that was the lifestyle for a while.
So when did you realize that being a lawyer just wasn't for you anymore? Because it sounds like that type of lifestyle is definitely not for myself, and I don't know. I mean, people actually do it, but when did you realize that it wasn't for you anymore?
Yeah, I'm not saying it wasn't great in some ways. I was, like I said, I was proud, and we were a big firm. We were doing big cases. So, it was exciting to be there. I didn't know where it was going to lead. So I knew it was draining, but I stayed for a long time. I just thought maybe if I got into a different type of law, it would change, my interest in it. And I wanted to do international law because I have a master's in international relations. I said, maybe I'll just do international law. That'll make it fun. I travel, and I couldn't get into it no matter what I tried. It's almost like it didn't exist. To the extent that it did, it wasn't anything appealing. I tried to get into an international branch, and I just could never make it happen. So that was a bit frustrating. I moved into a small firm and then a consulting firm. I tried different types of law, right, to try to make it work. And I guess to answer your question, I was in Miami. I was working for a legal consulting firm. We did patent litigation analysis, as boring as that sounds. It's actually very lucrative. Oh, my God. Yeah. And I was making the most money I've ever made in my career. This was like 2000, early 2000s. And the the more money we made, the more neurotic and insufferable the boss became. I know you shouldn't talk about your boss. He wasn't all bad. I know it's bad for him.
Yeah.
But it became, I couldn't stand it. And I wasn't the only one. No one could stand it there. But I was single. I had money now. And I could say, at some point, take the job and shove it. I'm going to go be happy. And that's when I decided to resign and do something creative. And that's what I did.
So when you quit, did you actually have a plan before you quit?
Planning is not my strong suit.
Okay, so you had no plan, no plan of like how are you going to make some money or anything like that?
No, I'm gutsy. I take chances, but I don't always plan as well as I should. I wouldn't advise it for other people. I think in hindsight, I should have had more of a plan. How's this going to work? How long is it going to take to build a career doing something else? I had a non-compete in my work. I couldn't even go do the same thing, even though it was lucrative, right? I couldn't go do it. I didn't want to go back and practice law at a traditional firm. I've been there, done that. I felt like that was such a lame thing. It would be like a surrendering, like, okay, I'll go back to law. That's all I can do. So I didn't want to do that. And then, I just plowed ahead. Like I said, I had a little savings, and that's when I decided I was going to write, because that was the hardest thing I could think of to do in entertainment, was to actually write something great as opposed to acting or producing, which those are hard too, but it starts with the writing. And so, I just dove out, didn't have much of a plan, and it took, frankly, it took a lot longer than I thought. My first book was, from beginning to end, it was like 4 years.
Wow. Second
book was and I almost, after that, I'm getting ahead of myself, but I almost didn't write again because it was such a long. I mean, that took a lot out of me. So it wasn't until I found out that there are different ways to do it that I could write again and not let it, take over my whole life like the first book did.
Wow. So if you guys are just joining us, you may recognize my guest as someone training along with you when you popped in that P90X DVD and worked out at home. Joe Bovino is the founder and CEO of Bestseller New Publishing, an attorney with over 25 years of experience and an author of 4 Amazon #1 best-selling books on dating and relationships, including his latest book, Bitchology, as well as the Field Guide to Chicks of the United States, which won the Gold Medal for Humor in 2013 Global eBook Awards. He spent most of his life in New Jersey, LA, and Miami, but currently resides in Colombia. Now, Joe resigned from his law job when he decided to write his first book. Now he helps others who have a great book or a bestseller in them by implementing a 3-step process that gets their book idea out of their head and into the world in a non-traditional way that really works. So if you have any questions or comments for Joe, just type them in the chat and we'll try to get to them throughout the show. And so I'm just going to read and acknowledge some people that joined us. Justine Bromwell joined us.
Hey.
Justine says, Bovino, and she gave you several kisses. I'm not going to give you the kissing action on here, Joe.
It's a good start.
And my mother, Shirley Ann, joined us. Welcome, Mom. She's my biggest
Mom.
fan. And Jason still wants to know that answer to the Tinder question. He laughed at your comment about using somebody else's picture, but
right. Have you seen Jason?
Yeah, I know. I've seen Jason. I've met Jason. And Justine wants me to say hi to you, Joe. So
hey, Justine.
Hi from Justine.
You sweetheart.
Like I said, just leave your questions or comments. We'll get to them throughout the course of the show. And if not, just tag us, either Joe or myself, if you have a specific question for one of us, into the comments. And what we'll do is we'll answer them after the show is aired. So, Joe, your first book, Field Guide to Chicks of the United States, you published that in 2012. So what prompted you to write that book? Was it from your years of dating? What was it?
I did have a lot of experience dating by that time.
Okay.
And I was a gringo living in Miami. I didn't have that many years in Miami. I think I had about 3 or 4 years under my belt, 4 years. And I loved it there. And while I was there, I was meeting all these Latinas, and they were great overall. But they would always tell me how different they were, one from the other. No, I'm Colombian, I'm not Mexican. No, I'm Puerto Rican, I'm not Venezuelan.
Right.
And I just thought, wow, I was just very interested. I told you earlier that my favorite book, the book that influenced me the most, was When Cultures Collide. And cultures were colliding in Miami. My own culture was colliding with theirs, and I loved it. And I was learning so much, and I had my job, I told you, was I love practicing law, and I'm still a member of the bar, but the last job at the end was a little stressful, and I said, I can't write about something serious. It's got to be light and fun. I want to write, the best stories I have are about dating and relationships, things that happen to me and my friends. And here I am in Miami. This is such a wild experience.
Yeah.
I'm going to write about these different subcultures, right, within Miami, and I'm going to do it with humor, because some of the stuff is just funny. The things that were happening, things I was learning. And also I wanted to be interesting, because that's the serious part. That book I mentioned, When Cultures Collide, is a serious business book. So I mixed the humor with the cultural observation, and I was trying to shed some light on the different cultures and also have some fun. And then I realized that no one's going to read, well, the market for Miami is actually rather small, so why not cover the whole United States? So I took this little book about Miami, and now I'm covering the whole United States. And that's one of the reasons it took 4 years.
Okay.
It was quite an operation.
Were you traveling around the country to discover and date these girls, or was it just from stories?
I so wanted to.
Had to do your research, Joe. You got to do your research.
Man, I'd done a lot of traveling, so I'd been around in the United States and also around the world. And I wanted to travel. I so much wanted to travel. And the idea that I passed up on before I started writing, a buddy of mine, we thought about doing a documentary, because he's done some filming. Just take the camera and go across the country. So that was so tempting. But I thought, if I do that, I'll never write the book. So the reality is, when you write, you have to find time alone and sit and just knock it out. And if you're traveling all the time, when are you going to write?
But now, you have some strategies that, from all that film content, you can actually turn it into a book.
Yeah, you could. I could have done it that way. I think that, who knows what would have happened. I mean, I'm not on video enough. I think this is a real problem that I have. I don't do enough videos. I just don't. So it's not that I'm afraid to do it. I just don't have the experience yet.
Right.
So that's something I want to do going into next year. I really want to do some videos about my books and other things. And yeah, so I did some traveling, not a lot. Most of the information in the book came from interviews with people I met in Miami and people I called. I did Skype stuff. I did research online, and then I traveled a little.
Right. So you went on to write a few more books, and they're all in the relationship and dating space. So was there a reason why you stayed in that space? And what are the backgrounds behind some of those other books?
Right. I mentioned the first one was this mix of culture and subculture and humor, right? But the part I guess the informative stuff was, I was really trying to show guys in my first book that they have options, that not all women in the United States are alike.
Right.
And I really, you couldn't help but feel that. Having moved to Miami, I didn't speak any Spanish, and it was like, wow, this is different. And in many ways, for me, it was better. And I wanted to get that across. So I really did like this subject. There was so much I couldn't get in. I didn't cover. I mean, I tried to cover the whole United States, but I left a lot on the table. And so, why did I continue? I guess when I almost gave up, like I said, when I decided to write some more, I thought, there's more I want to say here. It's been a few years. What else can I do with the content that I have? Maybe I can repurpose some of this. Okay. Right? Maybe I don't have to start from scratch. I do like the subject matter. The other thing was, this is important. Even though my first book, when I launched it, did really well, we launched it as a paperback first.
Okay.
Sold all kinds of copies. We hired a partner. We hired a consultant to launch it for us, and they dropped the ball. Basically, I don't want to get into all the details. They dropped the ball. The book would have been a #1 bestseller in almost any book category. Not just ebook. The book. Anyway, I was so disappointed in that when that happened, because it was just a screw up. Because if you don't hit that #1, Amazon doesn't help you as much, right?
Right.
That's why you want to do it. It's not just the ego thing. We didn't get the push. So when I wanted to write again, I thought, that first book didn't get the attention it deserved. I want to launch it again. And so anyway, that's why I stayed in this space. I wanted to relaunch my book. One of my other books is kind of a subset of it, Chica Spotting.
Yeah.
Field Guide to Latinas in the United States is really like a subset of my first book. And then maybe I'm getting ahead of you, but I was the last book, Bitchology, which is the one I just came out with a few weeks ago. Am I getting ahead of you?
No, not at all.
Okay. The reason that's my first, I guess, more serious one. I try to make it funny too. I try to keep it light. But what happened was I was attacked so viciously by feminists. I had no clue that they were so vile and hypocritical. And
that's where I was going to go next. Is I've read a lot of the reviews on all of your books on Amazon. And there's quite a bit of controversy around your topic. And how do I say it delicately? By feminists with zero humor. Because I've read most of the reviews of the books on Amazon. Many of them are men, and a lot of them are women as well. And there are a lot of positive comments, and because they see the humor in the books. But opinions are like assholes. Everyone has one. So how do you handle those negative comments about your books? Like, how are you dealing with it?
Well, here's the thing, too. And we're living in the United States anyway. It's a PC time. It's been going on for the last 10 years, but it's really accelerated. And all humor is critical. I was listening to John Cleese talk about this and how PC is really ruining humor. They're just not compatible. Even the most generic jokes, like how do you make God laugh? Tell him about your plans. That's like a generic stupid joke, right? Yeah. But it's also critical of us, of human beings. So even though I was trying to be funny, yes, there's some criticism in there, but I really wasn't trying to be hurtful and mean. I was trying to, if it was true, it was true. It's what I learned in the research. People just didn't want to hear it, and it was a white guy talking about women at a time when being a white guy, just in and of itself creates problems for some women in America. And here I was talking about them in I guess you could say, a judgmental way with humor, and they didn't appreciate it one bit. Some of them didn't read my stuff; they just attacked. The worst reviews of my first book came 4 months before anyone had read it. They totally wrote their review. One of the reviews is entitled "Joe Bovino's Field Guide to Chicks in the United States may be the worst book ever."
And it hadn't even been written?
She hadn't read it.
Oh, shit.
No, I mean, Mein Kampf is still out there, right? It's like, so she's thinking, well, maybe it's worse. I don't know. Maybe it's not quite as bad, but it's up there. She hadn't read it. She saw the cover. Yeah. She literally judged the book by a cover. And I had a PR gal. I'll never do this again. She put out a little blurb for me. I didn't read it. She asked me not to change it because PR people have their way of talking. Yeah. And I remember one of the lines in it was, Joe Bovino's gift to all mankind. I don't talk that way. No. And I wouldn't say that. And that's provocative, right? Yeah. So people read this blurb, and she had grammatical errors, and they attributed them to me, and then they just tore into the whole book, having not read it. And the bad thing was, people will say, people listening to this will say, or watching, they'll say, all publicity is good publicity, right? Well, the book wasn't out, so people couldn't go buy it. They couldn't. It was 4 months, and by that time, people had forgotten about that article, and I didn't get the bump from it. So it was awful. It was like the worst. I was like a laughingstock for 4 months before my first book could even come out, and it was a hard time. Anyway, I'm getting off on a tangent, I'm sure. So how do you deal? So how are you handling or dealing with the negative comments online? Are you going in and saying something very positive, or great question.
Taking the high road or the low road?
At first, I was stunned. Way back in 2013, late 2012, I was just stunned. I didn't know what to do. I have stories. I actually reached out to some of the feminists who attacked me, and I said, "Hey, why don't you read the book? If you still hate it, it's fine, but you should at least read it." And I remember I had a PR person at the time said, "No, you never do that. You never defend yourself. You don't reach out to them." I did it anyway. Yeah. That's a whole other story, and I talked about it in Bitchology, my latest book. I talk about how that went. That was a learning experience as well. They're really shameless. And so in the beginning, I guess you could say I wanted to clarify. Then I realized they don't care. They're trying to be provocative in their articles. They want somebody to attack. They want a bad guy. And I also realized that being accommodating, I'm basically a nice guy. I'm arguably too nice. Yeah. And they just pounce. If you show weakness at all, even if it's just being reasonable, many of them, not all, will just pounce. They are just unbelievable. So that's what led to Bitchology. I was so sick of it by the end of my third book. I told you Chica Spotting came out as my third book. I didn't even know that there were these hardcore feministas, mostly like Dominicans and Puerto Ricans in New York who have bought into the feminist culture there.
Yeah.
Oh, they are nasty, and they are emotional, and they attacked me. And when that happened, they tried to ban my book. My third book is Chica Spotting. They tried to ban it from Amazon.
I've read that.
That's pretty serious, right? They actually campaigned. They vandalized the page on Amazon. I'm still trying to get the stars up. They vandalized the page. They tried to get it banned. Amazon, to their credit, did not take it off. I'm sure they thought about it.
Yeah.
And that's what led to Bitchology, because I was so sick of it. My Bitchology is really a response to what third wave feminism and the anti-male, especially anti-white male ethos. And it's just it's pervasive. It's in the media. It's in everything else. It's the thing is, it's a dating book. I wrote the book for women.
Right.
And here's the book that sort of epitomizes what I was responding to. It wasn't just the response I got to my first book. It was the number one book on dating and relationships for American women for the last couple of years. It's called Why Men Love Bitches. That's not a joke. That's actually the name of the book.
I know it is.
I read it, and it's total BS.
Just the title itself. I don't love bitches.
When you have a lie for a title, it's probably a bad start. Now, maybe she was just. And I read it. She keeps redefining the word to the point where it means nothing.
Yeah.
But when you get right down to it, the new bitch is the old bitch in her book, and it's bad advice for women. And so I felt obliged to write to ones who still have an open mind.
Yeah.
Is there any good advice in her book? Yeah, she says a couple things. That makes some sense. But there's so much bad advice about what men. The high-quality men, I say. What high-quality men are looking for, the kind of women we love and marry? No. Bitches is not the answer. If you want to appeal to men, if you care about that, that's bad advice.
Yeah.
Bad advice.
Excuse me. Yeah, so if you guys are just joining us, you may have recognized my guest as someone training alongside you when you popped in that P90X DVD and worked out at home. Joe Bovino is the founder and CEO of Bestseller New Publishing, an attorney with over 25 years of experience and an author of 4 Amazon #1 best-selling books on dating and relationships, including his latest book, Bitchology, as well as a field guide to chicks of the United States, which won the gold medal for humor in the 2013 Global eBook Awards. He's currently spent most of his life in New Jersey, LA, and Miami, and currently resides in Colombia. Now, Joe resigned from his law job when he decided to write his first book. Now he helps others who have a great book or a bestseller in them by implementing a 3-step process that gets their book idea out of their head and into the world in a non-traditional way that really works. So if you have any questions or comments for Joe or myself, just leave them in the chat, and I'll just take a couple of seconds here and just see what's going on in chat. And let's see, Justine said she had to hop off, but she'll be back. She loved your Bitchology book. She also wrote a review for it, and Jason P. Jordan's inviting us to go to Italy. He just moved to Italy. And Marty says, Colombia with 2 O's, please. Did I spell
He's right. He's right. Yeah, everybody
something?
makes that mistake. Yeah.
Did I spell something wrong?
Yeah, Colombia, it's 2 O's. There's no, people use a U in there. It's not, there's no U.
Okay.
Yeah, everyone does that. Even my sister, who's brilliant, she made that mistake the other day.
Oh. Well, I don't claim to be brilliant, nor do I claim to be a good speller. I wrote 2 books, but I can't spell, so what's that tell you? And Jason wants a dating product. When's the dating product coming out, Joe?
I'd love to do that. That was one of the dreams I had when I wrote the first book. I always thought that the first book, Joe Got the Chicks in the United States, would turn into an app, hopefully a movie, all these different things. And so far that hasn't happened. Doesn't mean it won't. I'm not developing the app right now. We had one, and at one point we had it. Okay, we had it, and Apple wouldn't approve it.
Okay.
That's true. We basically completed the app. This was back in 2013, and Apple said no because some of the names we have for the chicks. It's a bird guide analogy: chicks, birds. Yeah. Some of the names they wouldn't accept, and some of them are a little edgy. I mean, there's the preppy slut. There's what's the other? That's a little edgy. Yeah. Anyway, I can go on and on, but they wouldn't approve. So that was what happened. And now for my new book, Bitchology, Facebook won't let me run an ad because it's got bitchology.
Because it's got bitch in the word.
They won't let me run an ad for it. And anyway, sorry, but my stuff is sufficiently controversial that I can't do some things that other people can do with their material.
And Diane wants to know what seems to be the most sought after books these days with regards to subjects. I'm not sure how to answer that, but
in general,
that's what I'm wondering. You talk in general, you're talking in dating space. Hopefully, you're probably talking in the dating space if you're leaving the question for Joe. I'm assuming.
Well, the dating space. Most of the books out there are for women. Women, I think to their credit, spend more time trying to figure out what works and doesn't work, and they think about these things. It's men, it's hard to get their attention. I knew that going in with my first book. That's why I have so many pictures, illustrations. The book is fully illustrated because I knew I couldn't get guys to just sit there and read words on a page unless it was a pure pickup guide, and I didn't write that. So a lot of illustrations in my books for that reason. The last one, Bitchology, is for women. I'm writing to women, American women in particular, and it's a bigger market. So I'm hoping. So some of the books that I'm competing against. I mentioned Why Men Love Bitches. There's some English guy. He's got a book out there. I think it's called Get the Guy. Hussey or Hessey, I don't know what his name is. He's supposed to. Steve Harvey has done very well. Yeah. With Act Like a Lady, right? Think Like a Man. So anyway, those are the. I will say one of my favorite books in this space. It probably is my favorite book in this space. Men Are From Mars, Women Are From Venus.
Oh, it's a great book.
You say that. See, a lot of men haven't read that. I only read it because the closest thing I had to getting married was a girl. I'm still very close with her lover, but I blew it at the end of a long relationship. And I remember toward the end, she said, "Read this book." It was on the little table, right, side table, and it was pink. I'm not going to read some fucking pink book. I was insulted by the suggestion. No. It was pink. So it's obviously not for me. So no. And stubborn. Well, we broke up. Not that day, but shortly thereafter. All my fault. Well, not mostly my fault. Anyway, years later, I was in a Barnes & Noble and I saw it. And it had a different color. Now it was green. The cover was green. And I picked it up and I read it. Boy, it described, I thought, perfectly what was going on. This idea that women want to just talk more in a relationship, and you don't have to have all the answers. And that was a big thing with me because I felt if she was unhappy, that it was my fault always. And it's just it's a guy thing. So anyway, that's probably my favorite dating book.
So you've transitioned into the publishing space now, and you're helping others become published authors. Yes. So many entrepreneurs who find some level of success usually gravitate towards people just like themselves to help them. So is that your case? Are you your ideal client, your ideal target market, or the old you, the working you? Is that who you try to attract now in your published space or your publishing space?
The old me and the new me. I think I would like to have the people who are like the old me and the new me. But I think my business is relatively new. Yeah. I'm really rolling now with it. No, the process is not new. The work is fun, but the marketing side for me, I'm not. Marketing has not been my thing. I was a lawyer, like I said. Then I wrote books, and now I have a business. So I'm learning a lot about marketing. As the business grows, I do think that there'll be a lot more professionals who will want a guy like me who's been a lawyer for a long time. I was a consultant for doing other things for a long time too. I have lots of different interests, health and fitness. We've talked about some of them, dating, other things. My clients so far are I would just say that they're interesting people who have something important to say and who don't find my humor offensive. Okay. Right. So if I have a client, for example, but the next book coming out that I'm launching for a client is called The Grieving Parents Club. It's a book for grieving parents to help them survive and cope and heal after the death of a child. Right. Now, could that be any more different than the books that I wrote? No. I mean, I wrote goofy. It's not goofy, but I wrote humor books about dating relationships with lots of illustrations. Now we're writing a book about grief, and I love it. She is a great gal. It's a very good book. I think it's going to help a lot of people, and it's very rewarding for me to be able to do that. This is a different type of idea. All my stuff doesn't have to be about whatever it is, as long as it's something important, I feel it's good. And so that's coming out soon. I have another gal who's writing a children's book about how to teach kids a new way to teach kids music. That's a great thing. I love music. She also has it's kind of a memoir, but we're hoping it turns into a movie. That's coming out, and some other ones. So
you haven't targeted one specific niche or people like busy professionals like you were. Right now, you're just sort of sampling a bunch of different segments or working with different people that have different ideas?
Well, I do think that the answer is yes, but I do think that the reason why my book will appeal to professionals is because I've seen what's out there. I know there are other companies that help people to write books, but I think some people will work with me because I can bring humor. Because it's nice to have a little humor when necessary, right? The Grieving Parents Club isn't a funny book, but it's also we were able to work together, and it's a heavy subject, so we were able to get through it. But you don't want to. I think we became friends, and she knows that I can lighten it up every now and then, and it's a good. You want to work with somebody like that. At least I understand that's part of it, and so I can bring a little humor when necessary. I've been out there as a professional, especially lawyers. If I end up working with lawyers, I don't have any lawyers as clients yet, but I haven't really tried to get them. I'd love to work with some. But yeah, I think there'll be a lot of professionals, and I just want to work with interesting people who have great stories. I can't tell you some of the people that that are in the pipeline. There's one in particular that's coming to mind. I can't say anything at this point, but it's really interesting stuff. I love culture. I also want to help people stretch the boundaries a little bit, like I did.
Yeah.
If a lawyer wants to write about his or her area of expertise, wonderful. I know those books are great for generating leads in business. Fantastic. I'll help with that.
Yeah.
But when someone wants to write something that's a little out of the box, then that's pretty exciting for me.
So how is it that you help your clients? Can you tell us a few minutes, like how your program works?
Right. Well, I learned from the pain that I went through in the first one. The book turned out great. I'm really happy with it, but it also took too long, and it cost me too much, and it was just a lot of mistakes I made along the way. So I learned from doing my other ones that there's another way to do it. It's a faster way, more enjoyable way. I also see that everybody's different, but a lot of people don't feel like they have the time to write. So they don't do it for that reason, or they don't want to sit alone in a room by themselves and they're busy and whatever.
Yeah.
So I just thought, what's the best process? And I don't want to, in my case, I don't want to just throw books out there. I don't want to just quickly get it done and throw out some trash that nobody's proud of. And frankly, I've seen some of that. And that's fine if people, I know. I'm not pointing at anyone. I'm just saying I've seen it. It's not what I want to do for a living. I take a lot of pride in my work. So if somebody wants a book that they're going to be really proud of, even if it takes a little bit longer than someone else who can get it done in a really short period of time, then they should work with me.
Yeah.
So that's what I'm trying to do. The process is basically, I put a lot of time into the first part, which is the story, structuring the story. What is really the story? Who's the hero of your story? What's the plan that you're offering? If it's a how-to type book, I think you have to get the story right. If you screw that up, nothing much matters. So I put a lot of effort in working with the client on the story, the structure of the book, and then the outline. And then because I'm a lawyer, I know a lot about leading questions, right?
Yeah.
So when we get to that part of the book, I ask leading questions, and we do an interview. So they speak the book. Basically, it comes out of their head. They speak it. The leading questions bring them along, and then we have it. We have it transcribed and edited, and we have great editors. And then I just make sure that it's even if it takes a little bit longer, I want the book to be great when it comes out, and that's what we're doing right now.
Excellent. If you guys are just joining us, you may recognize my guest as someone training along with you when you popped in that P90X DVD, working out at home. Joe Bovino is the founder and CEO of Bestseller and You Publishing, an attorney with over 25 years of experience and an author of 4 Amazon #1 best-selling books on dating and relationships, including his latest book, Bitchology, as well as the Field Guide to Chicks of the United States, which won the Gold Medal for Humor in the 2013 Global eBook Awards. He spent most of his life in New Jersey, LA, and Miami, and currently resides in Colombia. Now, Joe resigned from his law job when he decided to write his first book. Now he helps others who have a great book, a bestseller in them, by implementing a 3-step process that gets their book out of their head and into the world in a non-traditional way that really works. So if you have any questions or comments for Joe, just leave them in the chat, and I'm just going to go to the chat now. Let's see. Diane wants to know if you're... she was asking about if you were going to write a book. What seems to be... I have to go back. I'll skip over that one. Jason P. Jordan says use the one instead of the I in bitchology. It might get approved then in the Facebook ads.
Oh, interesting.
Lockwood making snide remarks. Each of McCabe's books is pink. And then my mother coming to my defense.
No offense, John.
And calling Andy. No, my books aren't pink. So my mother came to my defense and called Andy out and told him he was full of shit. So, and Jordan wants to know if Lockwood's drinking too, because he's very active and social on the chat. So,
John?
Yeah.
To Diane's point, I don't know exactly what the question, but I think I know where she was going with this.
Okay.
And I have a freebie coming out. I'm going to be putting it on my website. It's sort of how to jumpstart the process of writing your first best-selling book. I say best-selling because that's actually the easy part for me. The hard part is writing a great book, getting it out of you. It's sort of the greatness in you, right? It's not just the bestseller. It's not just some label. What do you have? Can you put it out there? So, to the question of, I think she was getting at, like, what's a good kind of book to write? What do people want? I think you have to start, in my opinion, you have to start with something that you care about.
Yes.
If you really love the subject, great. And if it involves something you do for a living, even better. Because if you love what you're doing for a living and then you can write about that, people are going to follow up and they're going to hire you and all that. That's like ideal. But I just personally think if you don't feel something for the subject matter, your book's not going to be very good, and people are going to feel it. They're not going to feel anything when they read it.
Right.
It's just going to be this dull thing that they put down. I think you should pour yourself, your heart, your mind. You pour it into the pages. Take off your PC hat and write the damn book that you want to write. I say write the book that you want to read, but you can't find in the bookstore. That's usually a good place to start. If you want to read something, you would love to read this book, but you can't find it. Nobody's written it in this way. It's okay if people have written similar books. I think she's asking, the question goes to the market, right? Oh, what are people buying? Well, it's okay. Is it a good idea to write about something that there's nothing out there at all like it? Probably not. Generally, no. It depends on what it is. You have to look, but generally, you want to write about the subject matter that people are interested in, and then find your angle, something about it that you love, where you and then the second thing is, and it's related, is you want to write about something where you have some expertise. And most of us have expertise in something or other. I had developed this expertise in dating and relationships accidentally. I was out having fun. I enjoyed dating. I was moving around. I was learning things, and my friends were telling me, you need to write a book about this, that. And I was like, oh, really? Yeah, you can. You're the expert. And so you want to pick something, and that's all I can say. So have a little love for it. Have some expertise in it. Don't worry about being the best of all. You just have to have some expertise. You're probably smarter at something than you think you are. If you start there, and then you learn how to organize your thoughts and get the book structured properly, you're going to be fine.
Yeah. So we're out of time, Joe. But before we go, I actually wanted to find out this question. So we'll go over in time here just so I can get some answers. What prompted you to move to Colombia?
The women.
The women? It wasn't.
No.
They forced you out of the U.S. You're no longer allowed.
It's a little corny joke, but no, the women here are actually gorgeous. I came here in February and just fell in love with the place. I made a lot of friends. The women are amazing. I'm still a single guy. I would like to find somebody. That was a factor, but it's also close to Florida. It's like a 3-hour flight from Florida.
Okay.
I always wanted to live abroad. I always wanted to learn a foreign language. This would force me to learn Spanish finally. I learned the culture. I told you I've always been interested in that. So this seemed to have it all. It's not that far away. It's like 1 hour. It's not Eastern time. It's like 1 hour earlier. So it's so convenient. Everything works. I don't know. I just think it's great. And I mean, I don't speak the language that well. I'm taking classes. It's hard. A very small percentage of people speak English fluently here, so it's a challenge.
So what's an average day for Joe look like?
I have a hot tub right next to me. You can't see it, but every day I get up, I go to the hot tub. Yeah. No, I don't do that. I don't do that. Let's see. I could lie and tell you, make it really exciting, but no. Basically, I love to work out of my home, not out of my home. Get out of the house and work somewhere else. I like to be around people, and so I usually find a coffee shop or something like that, and I sit down and I get to work. Whether it's on a project for a client, I have a couple books coming out for clients, or my own stuff. And I'm really hitting the gym hard. I'm trying to get back in P90X shape. I can do it. I want to have pictures that are as good as the ones for my final shots at P90X by in a couple months.
Nice.
So there's a gym around here. I go pretty often. What else? I have I'm dating a little bit, so I gotta put a little time into that. What else? I take Spanish lessons. I'm taking dance lessons. But yeah, the work is basically done mostly through the internet, like I said, coffee shops, or if I have a client where we're doing an interview session. I mentioned earlier that their book comes out. They speak the book. It'll be like this. I have this microphone, and I'm here at home.
Just do
and
a
we
Skype
do that.
interview.
Yes.
Excellent. Well, Joe, thanks. That's all the time we have for today. I personally want to thank you for being on the show. It was such a great show. Sharing with us all your insight, all your stories about your books and about your past. And it was great. So what I'll do is I'll post all the contact links for Joe in the comments section over the next couple days. So if anyone wants to connect with Joe and you're not sure how to, we'll have that information in there. As well as once this video gets posted up to the website, we'll post all of the contact information in the show notes as well. So everyone give Joe some love by hitting that like button, love button. Be sure to share this video with all your friends on your Facebook feed, as well as any associated business pages that you may have. And again, Joe, I just want to thank you for being on the show. And for everyone else, just stick around for a few minutes, and I'll be back in a second with some closing remarks. So thanks a lot, Joe. I really appreciate it.
Thanks, John. Anytime.
Hey, welcome to the Johnny McCabe Show, where it's all about accelerating your authority in your business or field of expertise. And we do that by helping entrepreneurs, business owners, authors, experts, and speakers get seen, get heard, get noticed on any device, anywhere, anytime, in as little as 15 hours. Also known as the Authority Acceleration Blueprint. Today on the Anything Goes Friday show, I'm going to drink some beer and I'm going to talk about women with someone I've become acquainted with in the Publish and Profit community, where we're both members. Now, there's probably a good chance that we met up at some of the marketing events along the way, but with 400 to 500 people at these events, it's hard to meet everybody. Now, this P90X Cast Member was a lawyer for most of his adult life and felt stuck in his career. Now, thanks for joining me on today's John A. McCabe Show, where we work with entrepreneurs, business owners, authors, experts, and speakers get seen, get heard, get noticed anywhere, anytime, on any device. Now, also known as the Authority Acceleration Blueprint. Now, if you're someone who's looking to take your business to the next level and want to get some coaching advice, why not apply to be a guest on today's show? Now, for most entrepreneurs, we want to create a life of our own, create our own path, and do what we can to reach our own desired outcome, which is generally freedom. Freedom to choose what we want to do, when we want to do it, and with whom we want to do it. A life that's full of options and choices, where we worry less about money and more about the quality of time that we spend with others. Now, a great way to make that happen is to leverage other people's knowledge, time, and skill sets. Step one to reaching our freedom life is to realize that you can't do it alone. Working with a coach or being involved in masterminds is a great way for entrepreneurs to move their business forward. Now, a coach can help you shorten the time frame to get you from where you are to where you want to be, while being part of a mastermind is meant to bring entrepreneurs together, all with the goal of helping each other move forward with their business. Now, the second step to creating the life you envision for yourself as an entrepreneur is to implement systems into your business so you can streamline your operations, leverage systems, and free up your time to focus on your family, having fun, and the highest leverage activities in your business. You know, the activities that get you the biggest return on your time invested, the ones that truly make you money. Now, sometimes we just don't know what systems we need, how to implement those systems, or even have the time to find out what is needed. Now, working with a coach or consultant that understands, uses, and specializes in systems that can streamline your operations can help save you time, aggravation, and make you a lot more money. Now, for example, having a system or strategy that allows you to leverage just 15 hours of your time into enough repurposed content to get you seen, get you heard, get you noticed anywhere, anytime, on any device is a great example of leverage. Now just imagine a system where you invest just 15 hours of your time and the end result is you're a #1 best-selling author. You have enough content that's going to get you seen, get you heard, get you noticed anywhere, anytime, on any device. You have a successful podcast. Now it's automatically attracting more attention, giving more value, and generating more leads, which enables you to attract an abundance of paying customers. Now this is also known as the Authority Acceleration Blueprint. Now to find out more about the Authority Acceleration Blueprint coaching program or mastermind, then contact me via my website at johnamccabe.com or connect with me through my show's Facebook page. Now again, thank you for joining us on today's show, and I look forward to seeing you on tomorrow's show when I have another great guest on discussing their business and accelerating their authority. So have yourself an amazing day, and I look forward to seeing you again real soon.